This is a simulation on paper, and there are some things that we cannot take into account just yet, or at least not in this video, maybe some other time. So over here we have the stats of the Galatine Prime, and we have puncher, impact, slash. It doesn't have any elemental damage, and the total base damage will be the total of all this above. Then it has a critical chance of 20%, which can be expressed as 0.2, multiplier of 2, base damage, or it has a channeling damage of 1.5. The base is 0.5, and how you get 0.5 is basically having 1.5 minus 1 to get 0.5. And then you have all this mod that we will be playing with. Buzzkill, which is 120% out of the slash damage, so it will give you 188.16. and then Jagged Edge we will actually not be using, because after testing many testings, it turns out that it's just not as good as having a elemental mod. Now, since status chance is not taken into account, we are using elemental mods that has the highest percentage of damage. So in this case, it will be like Fever Strike, Shocking Touch, Molten Impact, and North Wind. So all this will be 90% out of the base damage, which is the 165, and it will give you 148.5. Over here is the damage multipliers, like Pressure Point, which is 120% out of the total base, including the elements. And then we have Spoil Strike, which is 100%. And then critical damage, we have the 0.9 or 90% critical damage, and this 90% is actually acted on the multiplier. So 90% out of 2 is actually 1.8, and when you have this mod on, it will be 1.8 plus 2. You'll have a critical multiplier of 3.8, almost 4. Then we have channeling, which consists of Killing Blow, 120%. Now this 120% is on the base damage of your channeling weapon, which is 0.5. So 120% out of 0.5 will give you 0.6. We're actually not going to use the Corrupt Charge because it's just not as good as using some other mods in. So we won't be playing with this. We won't be playing with this. We will be playing with 3 of these or 2 of these. And then after that we have attack speed, which is Fury, and of course Berserker. Sorry to say that I do not have the Prime Fury, and I do not have the Prime Pressure Point, but even if I do, I feel like what I'm about to say will not really affect whether or not you have it. If you have it, it'll just be better. So between Fury and Berserker, Berserker seems like a better choice, although it takes a while to trigger it and reach the full potential of 90% increment of attack speed. But then while running with just Fury and running with just Berserker, it felt right with Berserker instead of Fury. So if you have to pick between Fury and Berserker, definitely go for Berserker. However, this is just my opinion. And also things that you must have, like Pressure Point is definitely something that will give you a lot of damage, and also Buzzkill. Okay, because Buzzkill is actually the only mod that buffs increases your base damage the most out of everything else. Now over here is the table that I created, and they are all run by codes. So what you do is you just type in what you want to put in, and then you put the amount at the right category, and you will calculate down here, and then it will just run everything by itself. So the total base damage will be all this: the weapons base damage plus Buzzkill's damage plus the elemental mod damages, which I'm gonna put 3 elemental mods here, and it'll come down to 798.66. And then what you do is you look at the damage multipliers, which is Pressure Point 1.2, Spoil Strike 1, and not forgetting its actual base, which is a 1. So by adding all this up, you get a 3.2. So by taking this two and multiply them together, you get your damage that you actually do. So next thing I want to talk about is the combo count. and how it works is for every attack you do, you get a combo count, and for every certain milestone that you reach, your damage will increase as well, and those are the combo bonuses. So for example, the first 4 attack that you do will not increase your damage. However, the 5th attack you'll get a times 1.5. That means you do 1.5 more damage than you originally do. And then when you reach the milestone of 15 combos, you'll do double the damage. And then when you reach another 45 combos, you'll do 2.5 more damage. 2.5 damage. And so this is something that you have to consider. The next thing is the critical multiplier. Now for this case, it's just so convenient that the critical chance is 0.2. So basically for every, it's 20%. So basically for every 5 hits, 1 of it will be a critical. So what I did here was something very simple. I just basically every fifth attack, I just put a 2 there, which represents a multiplier of 2 because the critical damage is a multiplier of 2. So where else, if it's not, it's just a 1. So it doesn't do anything to the damage. If it is a critical, it will just multiply that by 2. And this is actually not a very good way to do the calculation. I'll show you a better way just in a minute. So what we do here is that the first damage will be the bonus. The initial damage that you do times the combo bonus times the multiplier, and that will be the damage that you do. Okay, and then the second one goes the same way, third one goes the same way, and then until here, because you have a combo of 5 and then you have a bonus of 0.5. So when you times this, your base damage will increase. And since your base damage increase and so happen that you crit, in this case, so happen that you critical, your increased base damage will be doubled. Okay, and it just keep going. It just goes on and on and on. And this is the cumulative damage. That means basically the damage that accumulated. Like for example, how much damage in total have you done in 15 hits? You can see right over here you did 66.4k damage in total. That means all this, you add it up, you get 66.4k. Now if you were to use channeling, okay, if you were to use channeling, it's basically what you did here, the damage dealt. Only thing at the end you times with the channeling damage, which is 1.5. So you can either put here 1.5, or you can do something fancy like click this and lock it up, and you can put it down as well, like that. Okay, now let's talk about critical. Because of Blood Rush and how it keep on manipulating and changing the critical chance, the critical rate, we have to come up with a formula and no longer using things like this, like for every 5th attack it crits and then you get something like that. It has to be done a little bit differently and a little bit more confusing. Okay, so what Blood Rush actually do is that the moment it hit the first milestone of the combo bonus, which is the 1.5, it will take the 165% increment of critical chance times with 1.5, which is 150%, and then that will apply on the critical chance, which over here the weapon has 0.2. Okay, so let's go through it again. So it'll be basically 1.65 times 1.5, and that will give you 247.5% increment of the critical attack, or it could also be expressed as 2.475. And what you want to do is you just basically take the 0.2 times with the 2.475, okay, and not forgetting that you have to add back the original, because this is the extra added on to the original. So you can either write this way, or if you want to make it a little bit clearer, you can write stuff like bracket the base times with 2.5 close bracket plus the base. Okay, you can actually write it this way as well. It's the same thing. It's up to you how you want to express it. I did it this way, which I'm sorry, it's kind of confusing. I just realized it. Okay, then what you want to do is, after you know this, you actually get the actual critical chance it has now. And it's really mind-blowing, because when you look at this, it's like when you attack the first 4 times, you have a 20% chance of criticalling, and the moment you hit the 5th time, you have about a 70% chance of criticalling. So if I were to give you a mod that could give you a critical of an extra 50%, I think that would be a must-have. So to me, Blood Rush is a no-brainer. You should definitely get it. Just by hitting it at the 5th time, you'll get like 70%, and if you manage to keep hitting it, you'll reach like eventually to 100%, and then to even 200%. You could actually go into red crit territory, and it's really good. Now, next thing is coming up with the expression to fit in my this calculation table thing. It's not going to be easy, but I'm going to try to explain. If you're not interested, it's okay, but I feel like I have to explain it, otherwise it'll be kind of weird, like I'm just giving you numbers and you don't know how it came about. Okay, so the idea is like this. Imagine from just now, imagine you have a base damage of 1. Okay, so every attack is like 1. And when I say you have a critical chance of 0.2, basically means every 5th attack, or within 5 attack, you have at least 1 crit. Okay, and when I say the critical multiplier is 2, that means it will times 2 of whatever damage that you were doing, which in this case is 1. So what you do is, the old way is that you put 1, you assume that you do 1 damage, 1 damage, 1 damage, 1 damage, and at the 5th one, or within any one of this 5 damage, you do a crit, which is this one. Okay, and the total damage you did is 6. Okay, so 1, 1, 1, 1, and then you have a critical, total is 6. Now, what if you take the extra damage done here, which is the double of the 1, which is a 1. So you take that extra 1, you take it out, you take it out, so now you have 1 in the air, and you distribute them all evenly. Okay, so each one will have a part of that 1, so it'll be 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. And what happened is that if you do that, you will eventually come out with this, and when you add them all, you still get 6. So this is what I'm going to do with my equation that I came up with over here. Is very hard to explain, but I'm gonna try. So the average damage from your critical. Now the average damage from a critical, like for example this one, is 0.2. Okay, so it's 0.2 plus the base damage will give you the damage that you do. So right now I'm gonna find out the critical average damage, which is how much is this thing here. Okay, which is, for this case, is 0.2. So what you do is you take the base damage, which is this one, you times it with the combo multiplier, which is over here, because you have to know one thing, is that the more damage you do and then the more hits you did, let's say you enter this territory, this line here, and what happened is that your combo multiplier change. You are now, let's say you're over here, you're now doing double the damage. Okay, and when you crit, you will do double damage. Okay, so the combo multiplier has to be multiplied into your base damage first, and after that you will find you want to find the critical average. So what you do is you take the critical damage that you are about to do, like in this case is 2 times. If it's 3, it's 3 times. Okay, but you do not want it to be 2 times. You want it to be just the critical damage, so the extra. So what you do is, instead of 2 times, you minus 1 to get that extra. Okay, so here is 1. So if it's 3 times, that means you did extra 2 damage. You get what I mean? If I have a base damage of 1, and then I have a critical multiplier of 3, I am doing an extra 2 damage. So what I do is I just minus 1, and that will give the critical multiplier only the extra. Okay, so in this case, since it's 2, I minus 1, I get 1. Okay, and then I divide it by 1 divided by the critical chance. Okay, and when you divide 1 divided by the critical chance, you actually distribute okay, this is a little bit hard to explain, but let's just go and do a test. Okay, so over here I have a simple test. I'm gonna test one of these. Okay, one of these, and just to see how much critical damage on average I should have here. Okay, so let's say we do 10 damage, because this one 0.695 is approximately 70%. Okay, so if we do it the old way, there is 10 hits. 70% means out of the 10 hits, 7 of it will crit. Okay, that's 70%. Now first of all, you have to know that it entered the first combo multiplier, so all this no longer do 1 damage, they all do 1.5 damage now. And out of all this 1.5 damage, 7 of it will crit and do double that damage, which is 3. Now, and then the other 3 will not crit, so you have this, and the total is 25.5. Now if you take 25.5 divided by 10, okay, you will get 2.55. Now if you take 2.55 by the base damage of that time, which is 1.5, you will get 1.05. So using this formula, we can express all of them out. So this one, you do an extra 1.05, which is this one. Now the reason why it is inaccurate by 0.008 or 0.0075 is because we did not use we used 70% instead of 0.695. Okay, but it's actually the same thing. So that is how I could get the critical damage, the critical average damage. So after understanding how to acquire the critical damage average, we can now look at a critical build. So this is a critical build. I'm gonna be honest with you, I kind of copied this from Tactical Potato, which is a great Warframe channel. And sadly, I don't really agree with this, because after playing with it along with a lot of other builds that I've seen, I feel like there's a build that is better. And but first, let's just evaluate and just take a look. So it has pretty good base damage times with the pressure point. You get this amount, and then after that, okay, again with critical damage average, what it does is you just take the average and you you plus in to the damage that it would do if it did not crit. So that means this one. So basically, this one times this one plus this one is the damage that you'll be doing, okay, on average. And to get this, it's basically, again, from the base, you times with the combo multiplier, and then times again with the critical multiplier, but you have to minus 1 to make sure that you only get the extra and not the including the base when you do critical. And then after that, you divide by 1 divided by the critical chance to distribute the damage. Okay, very straightforward. Now let me tell you what I would do differently. Is I would take away body count, I will put organ shatter. Okay, and over here I will have to add the 90% critical multiplier, which will give you 3.8 now. And there you go. Immediately you could see that the initial damage has increased. Now I know what you're thinking, that body count, without body count you can't make it past a certain level, and I understand, but in just a short while you'll see why I would rather not have body count, rather not sacrifice organ shattered for body count. Okay, now next thing I want to show you is my channeling build. Now I understand that channeling is not very popular because it's very taxing on the energy. But this, I find this build pretty good, and I'm actually running with it most of the time. So let me just explain. It's pretty much the same thing as the critical build. Yes, everything's the same. The only difference is that I swapped out one of the elemental mods with Killing Blow to increase my channeling damage, and that's all. Okay, now this build only works for certain specific frames like Inaros and Nidus, because they do not have any shield. Any damage taken will be directly converted into energy, and that really helps to keep the energy and the channeling up. Okay, now I am going to show you the summary. So now we can look and finally compare the builds. So the first one is Elemental. It's actually the first build. 3 elements with pressure point, spoil strike and stuff. And what you realize is that the initial damage it does is a lot. Okay, these are the combos. So before the first combo milestone, the first 4 hits, it does a lot of damage compared with the others. You can see here, it's a lot. So this is good. For example, if you are a character that likes using primary weapons instead of melee, you can run with this build and pretty much 1/ anything. And it's useful because, like, let's say you're reloading or there is just a lot of enemies around you and you want to clear them really quick. It's also good for rushing through lower level missions. Okay, because stacking in low level missions is almost impossible. The moment you hit him, he dies. You have to run and rush to the other one. So yeah, this is really good for those things. Then after that, you realize that the critical with Organ Shatter will rule, and then for channeling, the critical channeling will rule. Okay, and you realize that even if you channel here, it will not be as high as this one. And the base from here, if you do not channel, will not be as high as the critical with Organ Shatter. Now I know what you're thinking. As I said before, without body count, you won't be able to go really far down. And even though the damage is like so amazing and it scales so well, it doesn't matter because you won't make it that far. So let's just imagine for a second that for some weird reason, anyone without body count cannot go past this blue point, cannot go past 25 combos. Okay, let's just imagine for a second that that's the case. Now the minute you hit 15 combos, you will be doing 9.7k per attack. 9.7k per attack. This guy, no offense to Tactical Potato, but he won't be able to do that much damage. In fact, in order to do a 9.7k damage, it will have to do, now this is 9.3, it's not even 9.7 yet. He has to do 405 combo in order to break this, in order to reach the next milestone of the combo bonus and break this 9.3k. Where else this dude with the Organ Shatter is already doing 9.7k per hit at 15 combo. Okay, even though they are only playing in this sector, they are doing so much damage that they could cover you easily. Now the next thing is, let's say again, you cannot go past this point now, so you're only hanging around this point. Okay, you will still do so much more damage. Every single hit after the 5th hit, you'll be doing about double this guy's damage. So something to think about. To me, it's definitely way more worth it getting the Organ Shatter instead of the body count. But then again, there are other things that you could play with. Let's say if you are in a very high survivability frame, you can actually take out life strike, because all of my build actually include either life strike or the prime reach and stuff. So you could play around with those things, but there are some things that you do not want to change. For example, I would highly recommend having Blood Rush, Organ Shatter, Pressure Point, Buzzkill, and Berserker. Okay, these 5 mods you should definitely have. Where else the other 3 you could definitely play with it and see what suits you most. Okay, now the next thing and final thing that I would like to say is about the attack speed. Okay, Fury and Berserker. Now it's actually really easy to, because the Galatine Prime has an attack speed of 1, which makes this really easy to calculate or to see. If you use Fury, you get 30%, that is 1.3. If you use Berserker and you have triggered it that many times, you get 90% increase, which is 1.9. So what you can do is every increase of attack speed is actually the animation increase of a 30% speed. So that means all you have to do is just use your imagination. Okay, let's say you attack an enemy until here, okay, and you did a cumulative attack of, how much is this, 674k damage. Okay, now if you do not have Fury, you'll do this amount of damage. If you have Fury, you will do 130 combos by the time you do that 10, which means that you will do 904k damage. So you see how this works. And let's say if you want to compare it, Berserker is that let's say you want to compare Fury and Berserker with Berserker, then you'll be looking at this value, okay, 904k damage, and you're gonna compare with the 109, this one, cumulative attack. Alright, anyways, this has been a really long video to do. This is the calculation part. You can just head over and see the other one. I know what I'm talking about. I'm going to end it here. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.